things up from film. And then if you get the bye, that gives you a chance to do something again going into the playoffs of surprising people coming out of the bye. That's kind of what I expect with Ryan Grant. Could he have done something? Probably. But I truly believe, Ryan, this culture with this coaching staff, the way they coach, the way they look at it, it's all about the long play. There is no short-term panic moves, win or lose. Everything has been planned from the start with the complete confidence that they are going to be one of the top seeds in the playoffs, and that's how everything is going to be done. That's how everything is going to be game planned for. That's how all injuries are going to be handled. And as much as it can be frustrating when you have a loss like this, I would much rather have that be the culture, because that keeps people calm in games like this. It keeps your locker room calm and steady and focused when you have games like this, because through the next week, believe me, the national people, they're going to have a field day with this. They are going to have a field day with this. They will be called overrated. They will be called overblown. They will swing from what they did last week about how great everything was to, what's wrong with them now? That you watch.
Oh yeah,
but
they will.
It will not matter inside that locker room. And Packer Nation, I told you, weeks 8 through 13, they were going to go 2-3. Okay? This was going to be the rough stretch. This is not because of the Packers roster. This is because if you listen to me, football is football, but life in general is all about trends, whether it be stock market, sales, whatever. You want to know, to be able to predict, to see, you got to look at trends. We are in two trends. We're in a trend of a first-year, first-time head coach, and we're in a trend of a new defense and new culture. And those trends show you in the first year, they win 11 games and are usually the top seeds in the NFC, and usually they get knocked out in the first or second round. First year, but they like it. Told you the difference was they have Aaron Rodgers. So be calm. Don't worry about this stretch. Don't worry about it. Think big picture and think that's what these guys are looking at, and don't worry about what the national media says, because 1 week they love the Packers, and the minute they can stomp on them because of Aaron Rodgers, they will. So just ignore it, good and bad, and just think about the long play, and it's playoffs, baby. That's it. This game really, in the grand scheme of things, folks, doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, I, for the most part, I agree with what you just said. I definitely agree that this coaching staff and front office looks for the long-term vision, the long-term plan. I feel like I've sensed that from the get-go, that they've kind of had this season mapped out in a way, especially when it comes to the offense and how they would be, obviously not everything goes how you want it to go. So I get that. You don't have full control over all of those things. But I'm saying on a more macro level that is how they've looked at it. And I agree. That's why I think you have not seen Ryan Grant yet. One, no wide receivers have gotten injured. If anything, they've actually added to the wide receiver room because of getting Davante Adams back. So there really wasn't a roster spot. Well, then you say, well, if he's not good enough to play, and take over for one of these other wide receivers, then why do we have him anyway? Well, we signed him as a free agent. It doesn't matter. It's not like we traded for him and gave up assets for him. Like you said, I think they're saving him. I think he is someone that can help this offense because I think he does bring something else to the table. But, if Geronimo Allison goes down, then yeah, he'll be on there. Like if he gets another concussion or he has an injury or someone else gets injured, he'll be in there. He's more an emergency at this point, but I think they want to use him as kind of a new wrinkle down the road, and that's exactly what you're seeing. And then the other thing, too, was activating Jay Sternberger, and then Robert Tonyan, Big Bob Tonyan, was not in. And I know we were I'm assuming that was you that was tweeting at me the other day about Sternberger and Tonyan. In my mind, that's the only way Sternberger gets activated.
If it's coming from the account, it's usually Dave, quite honestly.
Oh, it was? Okay. Well, someone was talking about, Sternberger and Tanya, and I wasn't sure who it was, but I said, yeah, Sternberger will only be activated on the actual live roster for the game roster, if Tanyan is not. Because I don't think they'd have four. I just don't feel like they would want to give up another roster spot somewhere else to have a fourth tight end. That's just my opinion, I think. And especially a fourth tight end that's a rookie who hasn't played yet. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that Tanyan wasn't good enough physically to make it, then I can see why that happened. He got some snaps. There was actually for sure one set where they had three tight ends, but I don't really know what the snap count is on Sternberger today. Obviously, he really didn't do anything, but the entire offense didn't do anything. So, some other notes I want to get to on offense. Man, offensive line play today was horrendous. It was absolutely horrendous. The tackles, the two guys, the staples of this offensive line, did not have their best game. And you know what? It's going to happen from time to time. It just sucks that it happened to be where both of them did not have a good game in the same game. And, whether it's the sacks that they're giving up, the false start penalties, in the past, there's been some holding calls that Bakhtiari's gotten against him that aren't common. They just the other thing that usually that gets me is when they start doing the defense kind of moves, but it doesn't move enough. But then they jump out of their stance and start pointing at the defense, trying to get the flag on the D. They're not calling that anymore. They got to stop doing that. They're not drawing defensive offsides anymore. They're not obvious enough. And so stop just reacting because they move and then think, oh, if I jump out of my stance quickly and then point that it's going to be a flag. They're just not calling those like they were. When they first introduced that rule, we actually got a bunch of those calls. But then they started realizing, the actual spirit and intent of that rule, and that was not how it was supposed to be. And now we got to change that. Too many penalties, just shooting ourselves in the foot on offense in general. Not just the offensive line, although they were the culprit for a lot of these, but penalties today were just, you can't have that many penalties and can't just give up the pressure the way that we were today. It's not going to happen. It's not going to work. And we got away with throwing to the running backs early in the game, like we had been pretty successful with. A lot of focus I felt was like you said, trying to get Davante Adams back into the game and back into the fold. And this offense has proven over the last 4 weeks it is best when you don't know where the ball is going, when you utilize all of the weapons and scheme people open and take the easier play. And I just felt like that wasn't happening today. I don't know. It was just frustrating. Entire offense, just in general. There was no rhythm. There was no flow. It's frustrating. I don't know if you have anything else to add, Jay, on offense.
Well, offensively, my biggest thing is, and I stated it earlier, it's just the game plan in general was flawed. And I had this feeling it was going to go this way. They are not a good. Their yardage per game might not. Okay, Ryan, this is where I think I disconnect from a lot of other football analysts and why I get ranty and why I come off angry and grumpy. It's because I'm not an analytics guy. I like numbers, and numbers are great. But football is never going to be and never will be about being able to look at numbers and know the game. It's just not going to be. Okay? And so the numbers can be all pretty and all this stuff and all this, but they are a great run blocking line, whether the stats tell you or not. Just watch the game. Like, when they want to run the ball this year and they need a yard, they'll get it most of the time. Not every team gets it every time, but when they really commit to it, formations, play calling, and all that, they do it well. That opens up everything. This offense, when they come out spread, it is so Mike McCarthy, so one-dimensional. There becomes no motions, no it's really not the LaFleur offense, okay? And it really puts you have a right guard who's in the first year playing with this group for the first time, okay? And so there's a lot of intricacies in pass blocking that really it takes time to develop that kind of consistency and rapport with with the other guys on either side of you on that line. And then you have a rookie on the other side playing the more important position at left guard because it's the blind side still, right? Why ever put them in? Again, I knew this was going to happen. It's very uncommon. It's a uncharacteristic. You're putting the players in a position to fail. And I'm not saying that they're bad at it. It's just it's much easier to pass block once you've beat up the pass rushers. And that's why the Patriots will do it. The Patriots will come out and they'll dink and dunk, but they will pound the ball for 2 yards in a cloud of dust for a quarter and a half because at the end of the day, they don't really care if they win the game 12-9 and kick all field goals. They want to dominate the line of scrimmage, they want to dominate the time of possession, and they want to control the tempo and the grind of the game. It's as simple as that. It don't look pretty, don't make great analytics, don't make great stats, but it puts W's in the win column. And that's what it's about. And this was the example of the complete opposite.
They had 10 rushes, 10 carries, and then Rodgers had one run for 5 yards. 10 carries.
Lots of spread formation, lots of shotgun. And look, don't start coming at me. Well, they're behind. This was at the beginning of the game from the get-go. It was shotgun, back to the left, back to the right, and he wasn't even chipping coming out. They were not, and the guys, Tony Romo kept pointing out, they weren't even sliding protection when they had Bosa and Ingram lined up on the same side. Like, what are you thinking? Again, this was a complete opposite. Go back and listen to last week's show. You're going to find out it's like the complete opposite of the coin. This was like a two-face. This is where the coin lands on freaking tails for the first time, instead of heads all the time. That's what happened this week. It was the complete opposite of everything we praised them about last week on last week's show. They came out and they dropped one by doing everything that they did for the last 5 years that failed with Mike McCarthy. That's how I feel about the view of it.
Yeah, it was a different game plan. I didn't see a lot of the motion, the jet sweep action, the stuff that we were getting used to seeing. I just didn't see it. And again, a lot of it has to do again with the penalties. And so now the down and distance and being behind the sticks kind of dictates that. But still, at the end of the day, 10 carries, I mean, that's just not going to cut it. Not in this offense.
Ryan, you have to put some of that, in my opinion, on the coaching staff. Because when Elton Jenkins, who is one of the least penalized overall offensive linemen in the league, and especially when it comes to rookies, and when he jumped that first time, I think it was the second drive, maybe the first drive. It's in my notes. I'll get it in a second. When he jumped, Romo said it right away. Well, it's because he's got to worry about Ingram and Bosa. They keep lining them up there. They were lined up in shotgun. What is that telling you, Ryan? As a coach, that's telling you, okay, it's in my young lineman's head. The next 2 drives, I don't care if you got to punt. You come out and run the ball. Reestablish the line of scrimmage and dominance and reestablish confidence in your offensive linemen by making them go forward so that they are confident when they need to go backwards, okay? And so that's on the coaching staff of not seeing that from those penalties, because those pre-snap penalties and false starts, that's what it's telling you. It's telling you that your linemen are too concerned about their get-off from pass blocking because of those pass rushers. That one's on the coaching staff, in my opinion, Ryan. Those are telltale signs of your linemen being in their head and being concerned and nervous, and it's on the coaching staff because here's the counter-argument is, what the hell difference does it make if you reestablish a line of scrimmage by running the ball 3 straight times and gaining 9 yards and punting when you're losing 5 yards and punting anyway.